Mervyn Bennun says the ANC is no longer fit to govern South Africa. The soon-to-be former ANC activist says he will not be renewing his membership. In his open letter to the party, he says it can no longer redeem itself. Let's find out now why he holds these strong views. And Mr. Bennun joins us from Cape Town. Very good morning to you, and thank you for your time. Let's start with that very, very important opening line in your resignation letter where you say the ANC is no longer fit to govern or worthy of my support. That's me quoting you there directly. Why have you come to this conclusion?
Well, I looked at the history and the recent events and the way in which the leadership has deteriorated in quality and its inability to respond to crises which prevail around us.
All right, and so those are, in short form, the reasons why you have seen it fit to basically not renew your membership. Let's talk about your contribution to this struggle, Mr. Bennun, because there will be those who are going to seek to reduce your contribution to this struggle. What would you like to be remembered for? How would you like your contribution to the struggle against apartheid to be remembered?
Xoli, I've got no particular interest in achieving fame and glory, but I felt that I had to speak out. I was in an extraordinary position. I didn't realize it at the time. One doesn't realize how important life moments can be in one's existence. When I spoke at the Congress of the People, and as the years went by, and after I came back to South Africa, and the years continued to go by, and I saw the way in which the country deteriorated from the level at which we initially hoped to achieve and which now looks increasingly desperate. It's clear to me that the ANC's leadership is incapable of renewing itself, renewing its objectives. It's almost impossible even to have a meeting of a region or a branch which doesn't end up in court. And all the image that the ANC presents to me as a rank-and-file member, and I want to emphasize that my contribution was very small. It's very easy to beat one's chest and say that one was a great hero. I wasn't. I was a very ordinary rank-and-file member. But looking at what has actually happened, it's clear to me that the present leadership of the African National Congress is incapable of leading the change which is needed. And it's heartbreaking. It's very disappointing.
Even with President Cyril Ramaphosa at the helm, a person who, I think in the last election, in fact it was the 2019 election, he was credited by the person who ran the campaign of the ANC, Xoli Mngambi, at the time, for partly being the reason why the ANC could still manage, even though the numbers have continued to dwindle, but he could still manage to put the ANC back at the Union buildings.
Well, I find it very difficult to take Xoli Mngambi very seriously, because when he was the head of the Youth League, he accused the National Prosecuting Authority of instituting a political prosecution against Jacob Zuma. And people have forgotten that. He was passionately in defense of Jacob Zuma, and he accused Thabo Mbeki of organizing a campaign for a political prosecution of Zuma. And how can I take seriously a man who takes a position like that against the background of a leadership which is in a profound state of decay and disorganization?
Does it disappoint you, the allegations in which the president of your party and that of the country, Cyril Ramaphosa, finds himself in, the Phala Phala Farm scandal?
Yes, it's heartbreaking. I'm a small heart. I was a small cog in the wheel. I was merely a spare carrier. But it's heartbreaking. And it's profoundly frustrating. And all I can do is hope that the conference for renewal, which is taking place in Johannesburg this weekend, will be the start of something new.
Yeah. I want to quote your letter once again. There's a section where you say, and I quote, "I have to speak out, even if my voice is but a whisper in the thunder of the history of the African National Congress," and I close quote there. Do you get a sense, or do you think that you'll be listened to in an organization that has often been described as self-serving?
I think that any person who tries to make a prediction about politics can be absolutely guaranteed to be wrong. I hope that what I wrote is listened to. But the impact that it makes, only history and time can tell.
Mm. You say, or you use the words, and this is the word that you use in that letter of resignation. You say you are sickened by the reports of corrupt greed. You're soon to be a former member of this party. Is it clear, at least in your mind, never mind the South African public, who are every day yearning for some hope that this party is going to do right by this country, do you think that there are any redeemable features that, or any glimmer of hope?
Absolutely, without the slightest hesitation. You know, colleague, there are always names one doesn't know. There are young people who are burning with wrath. There are young people who are frustrated. I don't know their names. But if you look at the history of the African National Congress and the movement as a whole, there will always be people who will come forward and take up the cudgels, take up the strain. And I'm absolutely confident that that will happen. But at the helm, for those in charge at present, no, I don't see that happening. But for the future, I have total confidence. And the Conference for Renewal and Change and in Defense of the Democracy, which is taking place in Johannesburg this weekend, I look to that for the trumpet blast of leadership and inspiration that will come through. There will always be names, there will always be people whom one can't mention, one doesn't know their names. I'm old, but they are there, they are angry, and they're talented, and they're absolutely honest, and they're absolutely dedicated. And I have absolutely no doubt they will take up the slack and take up the strain, and we will see a renewal. But as a present constituted, I can't see anything emerging from the present leadership of the ANC.
I have to squeeze in this final question. I'm out of time, but the State Capture Commission of Inquiry talks exactly to some of the corruption reports that are strewn across the government shelves there gathering dust. It is the latest in what this country has experienced in terms of corruption. And you have said that the people who amass the NEC at the moment, who are at the helm of the leadership of this party, many of them find themselves implicated one way or the other in allegations of corruption. Do you think that this report will be implemented, its recommendations?
I sincerely hope so. I believe that it will. I believe that the people of the country will absolutely insist that it will be implemented. We have a superb constitution, we have excellent courts, and I think that the mass of the people will absolutely insist, and rightly so, that the Zondo report must produce results.
That's Mervyn Bennun, and he is soon to be a former member of the African National Congress. You can hear in his voice, he's an old man having given his life to the struggle of the history, or to the struggle against apartheid in this country. That's how he feels, that's how he sees things. I wonder what your thoughts are.